Hey guys, if there were ever an episode of The Curse of Oak Island that cracked the lid just enough to let the scent of long-buried truth rise into the air, Season 12, Episode 24 might be it. Imagine this. You're standing on a centuries-old island, mud slick on your boots, surrounded by your closest comrades. You're not digging for gold per se. You're digging for validation, for proof that legends aren't just stories whispered on stormy nights. That's what Craig Tester and the rest of the Laganina team felt as they prepared to unearth what they believed might be a 14-foot-long anomaly at the northernmost part of the island's infamous swamp. "I just want to find wood in the ground," Craig said simply. And in Oak Island language, wood doesn't mean lumber. It means history. If you've followed this mystery as long as many of us have, you know the name Fred Nolan. He was the legendary land surveyor who devoted much of his life to proving that the Oak Island swamp was not natural, but man-made. He was convinced that something ancient, perhaps even pre-Columbian, lay beneath the mere, hidden behind a wall constructed to alter the landscape itself. Now Craig, Rick, and the team stand where Fred once stood, digging mere feet from where ground-penetrating radar suggested a buried structure lurks. What they hoped to find was a wall, the elusive Nolan Wall. What they found was something else entirely: planks, wood, dowel construction. And here's the twist: not just any wood, but old wood crafted using techniques dating back before the 18th century. You can almost hear the whispers of old-world hands cutting and placing these beams deep beneath the island's surface, long before anyone dared to speak of treasure. While part of the team dug into the swamp's secrets, another group was tunneling deeper into the dark heart of Oak Island, the Money Pit. There, the Toot 1 shaft was plunging further than any search had gone before, reaching into depths over 170 feet as it aimed for the fabled solution channel. This wasn't a blind dig. This was calculated. Every inch pulled up came with data, measurements, strategy. And wood. So much wood. A staggering amount. Most of it pulled from what appeared to be the remnants of the Chapel Shaft, a 1931 excavation by Melbourne and William Chappell that aimed to reach a supposed vault discovered in 1897. The Toot 1 drill didn't just punch through dirt and history. It turned up fragments of old wedge-cut beams, pieces with dowels, pieces that didn't match known modern work. This was no leftover lumber. This could be original. Imagine pulling up a chunk of timber and seeing not nails, but dowels. Wooden fasteners crafted by hands centuries ago, using adzes, primitive tools used to shape wood long before power saws ever existed. The search for Fred Nolan's wall hit an emotional wall of its own. Rick Laganina and Craig Tester pressed deeper into the swamp, bucket after bucket, peering into the wet, dark layers of earth for signs of human intervention. At one point, excitement turned to silence. "There's nothing here," Craig said quietly, the weight of disappointment evident in his voice. "That all looks like virgin ground to me." And yet, even in that moment, the team didn't surrender the dream. "We probably have explored less than 30% of the bog," Rick reminded everyone. "If we've found what we found in that, just imagine what's in the rest." That's not false hope. That's a veteran's instinct. After all, the swamp has yielded a stone-paved roadway, human artifacts, evidence of large-scale manipulation. Fred Nolan may not have been wrong. He may have been early. Back in the Money Pit, just as the dig pushed past 170 feet, the team struck metal. A large plate, almost certainly part of the steel shoe that once lined the base of the chapel shaft, surfaced. It was a literal piece of Oak Island history, a remnant of a search that ended in heartbreak nearly a century ago. And yet, that heartbreak may become the Laganina's greatest lead, because beneath that shoe lies the solution channel. A corridor that possibly connects to the original vault. The vault that so many have risked life and fortune to find. And then came the moment every Oak Island fan waits for. Gary Drayton's metal detector chirped. What Gary unearthed, with Marty at his side, wasn't gold or silver. It was something far more valuable. Context. A curved piece of wrought iron, covered in rust and age. Gary identified it almost instantly, the tip of a pickaxe. But not a modern one. This was hand-forged, heavy, and ancient, a match to one found in 2019 during the RF1 shaft excavation. Two tools, nearly identical, pulled from shafts only feet apart, but separated by 6 years of digging and nearly 160 feet of earth. What does it mean? Here's where things get truly thrilling. Only weeks earlier, the team had traveled to Malta, where historian Matthew Balsan showcased 16th-century underground tunnel systems allegedly built by the Knights of Malta. Tunnels using the same kinds of tools now found on Oak Island. Could the team have just stumbled upon evidence of who built the money pit? Are we inching closer to identifying the hands behind this architectural enigma? And more importantly, if this was their tool, did they leave behind something even more valuable? As the sun set over Oak Island, the team made a decision. Halt operations for the night. Toot 1 was sitting at 171 feet, on the cusp of breaking through into the solution channel. Everyone knew what came next. The next morning they'd be back, eyes wide, shovels ready. The promise of something greater just below. Into the void, someone said with a grin. The phrase echoed like a war cry, because while Oak Island has defeated many, it has not yet beaten the Lagunitas. And what about the chapel vault? That elusive chamber, first hinted at in 1897 when a drill struck soft metal, then parchment, and finally a void believed to be the resting place of a treasure hidden centuries ago. The fact that Toot 1 has reached beyond the known depth of the chapel shaft and is now pushing into virgin ground raises serious questions. If that vault truly exists, this might be the year we touch it. Not just metaphorically, but literally. With machinery, hands, and hope. The discovery of a second iron pickaxe fragment also casts an ominous yet thrilling shadow over the pit. The match to the 2019 artifact found in RF1 is no coincidence. We're not talking about a few scattered tools left by explorers in the 1800s. These are markers of a concentrated, coordinated tunneling effort. An effort from an era when men didn't waste tools. If a pickaxe tip was lost that deep underground, it was used with serious intent. And that intent might have been to bury something of monumental value. And let's not overlook the emotional stakes for Rick Lagunina. This isn't about gold or riches. It's about solving a riddle that's consumed his soul for decades. Watching his hope rise and fall as they pursued Fred Nolan's wall was heart-wrenching. You could see it in his face, the frustration, the faith, the fire. And yet, despite not finding the wall, he stood there and said, "We're not done with the bog." That's the spirit of Oak Island. Setbacks aren't the end. They're just signs pointing to another path. One of the most telling moments of this episode came when Gary handed Marty that hunk of old wrought iron. The weight of it wasn't just physical. It was symbolic. Heavy with history, rusted with mystery. This was a relic from an age that predates every known expedition to the island. It's one thing to find coins or buttons, but when you find a tool used by the hands that may have built the money pit, that's not just evidence. That's contact. That's shaking hands with the past. There's a common theme pulsing through every find: intentionality. Whether it's a doweled beam buried beneath the swamp or a voltaged shoe plate from Chapel's operation, none of this is random. This island was engineered, manipulated by people who had knowledge, resources, and a purpose. And the team's exploration in Malta wasn't just a side quest. It was a revelation. Seeing those Maltese tunnels so closely mirroring Oak Island's architecture tied the mystery to a broader historical canvas. Could it be the Knights of Malta, Templars, or perhaps a group we've yet to even consider? And let's talk time. As winter creeps closer, the island's weather becomes a brutal adversary. Every hour matters. Every find must be analyzed, cataloged, and reacted to in real time. The team is racing against the elements, trying to beat nature before it buries their window of opportunity in frost. But as they push into the solution channel, hope runs hotter than ever. This is not just the final stage of the season. It might be the beginning of the final chapter of the Oak Island mystery. So here we stand. You and I, watching history unfold from our screens. Feeling the pulse of the unknown beat stronger than ever. The discoveries in this episode are not filler. They are foundational. They suggest that something, or someone, hid something extraordinary beneath this island. And now, finally, the tools are hitting the right layer, the right shaft, the right moment in time. Friend, keep watching, keep dreaming, because the next bucket, the next beep of Gary's detector might just change everything.